Been with us for a decade, and we honestly couldn't ask for a more loyal employee.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Everyone else jumps around, but you stuck around with us.
I did? Yeah, I did.
You live and breathe this company's culture.
I like to think so.
That's why it pains me that we have to fire you right now.
What?
Welcome to a new episode. Today, we're going to be looking at a TikTok video of a former Google employee that has some choice words to say to Google. Is it justified? Does it make sense? Do these employees deserve to be laid off? How activist investors are putting pressure on some of these tech companies and why layoffs are happening. That's what we'll be exploring in today's video.
Yesterday, 12,000 of my colleagues at Google were laid off. Today, this activist investor who's been really involving himself in the situation, his name is Christopher Hohn, wrote a letter to our CEO and he said he was disappointed in the layoffs because people lost their job. No. He was disappointed because the layoffs didn't go far enough. In his letter, Christopher says not only should Google do more and bigger layoffs, but that remaining employees should be paid less. This is all, of course, so that the stock price will go up and investors like Christopher will make more money. And he really needs it. Last year, he only made $690 million.
So here's what's happening, right? Interest rates are still rising. And typically when interest rates rise, tech stocks take a beating. When tech stocks take a beating, you have activist investors stepping in. Activist investors like Chris Hohn tend to write letters to demand things like job cuts and random cost-cutting measures. If you don't know what an activist investor is, here's the definition. An activist investor, typically a specialized hedge fund, buys a significant minority stake in a publicly traded company in order to change how it's run. Who exactly would be called an activist investor? Think about people like Bill Ackman, Chris Hohn, Carl Icahn. And Icahn actually has a HBO special, The Restless Billionaire. Activist investors are billionaires or really, really rich people that make a ton of money that tell companies like Google to trim the fat and cut costs. So now let's dive into the letter that Chris wrote to Google back in November. We're writing to express our view that the cost base of Alphabet is too high and that management needs to take aggressive action. The company has too many employees and the cost per employee is too high. Management should publicly disclose in earnings before interest and taxes, margin target, substantially reduce losses in other bets, and increase share buybacks. Our boy Chris is saying the compensation per employee is too high and that Google's compensation per employee is higher than most tech companies. So you wrote that letter back in November, and then in January, Google announced 12,000 layoffs. Is it coincidence? My take is there are a lot of factors that go into companies laying off employees. Investors and investor profit is definitely one of the key reasons. So what happened after the 12,000 layoffs? Chris Hohn ended up writing another letter. I argued in my previous letter that Alphabet's headcount had grown beyond what is required operationally. Over the last 5 years, Alphabet more than doubled its headcount, adding over 100,000 employees, of which over 30,000 were added in the first 9 months of 2020 alone. The decision to cut 12,000 jobs is a step in the right direction, but that does not even reverse the very strong headcount growth of 2020. Ultimately, management needs to go further. Chris Hohn is saying, great job, good step in the right direction. That's not good enough. You guys need to lay off more people. All right, so what are my takeaways for this video? You can complain that the layoffs are awful, but the fact of the matter is this how capitalism works. Companies are here to please their shareholders / investors. Because of that, if there's any hiccup with how they make money, profit, or if the stock falls low enough, then activist investors like Chris Hohn will probably be stepping in. What you can do in the meanwhile is just continue to work on your skill set, make sure that you are flexible, and in short, you need to make yourself more valuable so that if layoffs happen to you or have happened to you, that you can quickly land on your feet. I see this trend of where these large big tech companies are responsible for more and more jobs and for the economy. And so ideally, you need to figure out a way to become self-sufficient. Easier said than done, but relying on one job, one career, one company is not how you're going to be able to thrive in 2023 and moving forward. What do you think about activist investors? Is it just capitalism or is it evil? What do you plan to do about it? How does this affect or change how you are strategizing your career or your next move? Leave your opinions in the comments. Would love to hear from you. Would love to hear your perspective. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video.